Hello, I am the Irish guy, and Manchester United are an absolute flop joke. This is a disgrace. A laughable disgrace. 6 defeats. 6 moldy defeats by October 4th. Getting beaten by Galatasaray in the Champions League at home. This is such a disgrace for Man United. If they lose to Brentford at the weekend, a club who's traumatized Erik Ten Hag in the past, that will be 7. This is the sort of run where Man United are so bad right now that you almost expect them to lose. Nothing seems to have changed. I maintain that the worst ever Manchester United team I've ever seen with both eyes was the final few months of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Listen, the team who finished second on 74 points during the lockdown season was hands down the worst team who I've ever seen finish second in anything. Come on, they lost at home to Crystal Palace, Arsenal, Sheffield United and Leicester in just 2 matches. Both Tottenham and Liverpool were allowed to score 10 goals on their turf. And guess what? They were an absolute Champions League implosion as well, losing Istanbul Basaksehir, PSG and RB Leipzig to finish 3rd in their group. Honestly, after losing to Leipzig in 2020, and now this crushing defeat against Galatasaray, both by the score of 3 goals to 2. Oh, every time they see former Man City left back Angelino on the pitch, it must be about like seeing a banshee screaming in an Irish village. You know the end is near. They're gonna crash a car into a post box and shatter your skull like a chocolate cream egg. But it was the next season. Weeks after Cristiano Ronaldo joined, that run of 1 win, 2 draws, and 5 defeats in 8 Premier League games, which included a 4-2 defeat to Leicester, a 5-0 loss at home to Liverpool, and a 4-1 embarrassment at Watford. That chunk of Solskjaer ineptitude was the worst Man United team I've ever seen. But right now, I might have to change my mind. It's the 4th of October and Manchester United have lost 6 games of football already. Onana has had to pick the ball out of his own net 18 times. Last season at Inter Milan, you had to wait until January to see him concede his 18th goal of the season. This is an absolutely miserable start, and surely the worst start to life for any Manchester United #1 goalie. Right now, he must feel like storming home and gorging himself on a cake filled with dog medicine. This is a man who's absolutely screaming at Harry Maguire like he was a child during a pre-season match, morphing into the mom of Malcolm in the Middle. Yeah, well done, Onana, because he's since joined Maguire in Memeville. David Hay is sitting at home in bed, probably watching these results filter through on his phone and wondering how on earth he still doesn't have a job. Honestly, what's his future? In 6 months, is he just gonna wind up in the Spanish version of Jeremy Kyle, having dug 4 teeth out of his gums with a fork? Is he now developing a geeky obsession with Minecraft in his bedroom? Is his wife having to eat bowls of spaghetti outside his door? Lad, this is the most choreographed revenge plot from Wilfred Zaha. It was more obvious than the plot of Django. He has been waffling about wanting to play in the Champions League for years. How did you not see this coming? Every single summer at Crystal Palace, the bloke was whinging, telling the world he just wanted to be given a chance to prove himself in elite competition. I mean, why he was then keen to type a £70 million switch to Everton, I'm not really sure. It'd be a bit like somebody wanting to be a superstar Hollywood actor, and so you choose to audition for Britain's Got Talent, juggling pies whilst humming the James Bond theme tune backwards through your nose. We should have known that Zaha's first ever Champions League goal would be at Old Trafford, just 10 years later than he wanted. When he joined Man United in 2013, he was left out of every single Champions League squad with David Moyes. But here, you've actually made Zaha's dream come true. He should be a 30-year-old washed-up windbag, just ruining his potential in a stifling Turkish league, a derelict place which has crushed the likes of Nathan Redmond and Dele Alli. As soon as he touched down in Istanbul, his talent should have been sneezed into a puddle of mud, but no, instead he's tearing through Manchester United's backline as if it was made of milk. Look, Galatasaray are having a great season. So far, they've had 12 wins, 3 draws, and 0 defeats. They're on course to be the Turkish Invincibles. But in no reality should Man United be letting them leave Old Trafford with a win? It can't happen. They had Davinson Sanchez in defence, that expensive Tottenham flop who would look like a bumbling clown in the Premier League. And yet this hideous centre-back left Old Trafford with 2 assists. Man United were let off the hook. It was 2-2 with 50 minutes left. Casemiro gives away a penalty against Brainless, he's sent off. And then Mara Icardi takes the penalty and puts it wide. Great, it's a huge slice of luck. Maybe he was distracted by the pressure of scoring at Old Trafford at a monster pressure night. Or maybe he was suddenly inflicted with the draining voice of his awful ex-wife in his head, nagging at him to do the dishes and suffocate the bunny rabbits. I mean, what? She seemed like a nightmare. But no, despite that miss, 4 minutes later, you just roll out the red carpet for Icardi to stroll through 1-on-1 with Onana, and this time he scores. This should have been a different night. Wayne Rooney introduced himself as a megastar when he scored a Champions League hat-trick against Fenerbahce. Rasmus Hojlund, this could have been his hat-trick against a Turkish club. The absolute springboard to go on and become a Manchester United legend. But instead, you sloppily lose. This is not good enough. This is a complete and utter mess. This stinks of Solskjaer ball. It's a joke, lads. Is Ten Hag that guy? Yeah, I know he stood up to Ronaldo. Oh, well done. But what was he supposed to do? It was the most blatantly obvious chess move. Just move Ronaldo on. He was literally sitting in a Piers Morgan interview, calling you a liar, slating his teammates, openly regretting his move. Ten Hag would have to be a spineless little squirrel, the Millhouse of the Premier League, to welcome Ronaldo back with open arms. Yeah, I know he's put his foot down and standing up to Jadon Sancho, but it is a bit easier to do that when he's already proven to be an £80 million flop. What's this guy really done? won. Sure, he ripped up Dutch football with Ajax. Yeah, so did Frank de Boer, and he morphed into the worst Premier League manager of all time. I know he dragged Ajax to a Champions League semi-final. Club Puel brought Lyon to a Champions League semi-final. What's your point? Yeah, if I suggested you appoint the former Leicester manager, you'd probably demand I have a brain lobotomy. I mean, Schalke played a Champions League semi-final with Ralf Rangnick at the wheel. I mean, what are we doing here? I'm sorry, but every time I see Ten Hag sitting in the dugout and I catch a glimpse of Steve McLaren sitting behind him, I'm reminded that, oh yes, there's some absolutely fraudulent tactical cabbage talk at the club. McLaren is a bloke who failed to get the England Golden Generation to Euro 2008. He's failed at Wolfsburg, Nottingham Forest, Twente the second time. Derby County, Newcastle, Derby County again, QPR. How is he spending his early 60s on a training ground telling Bruno Fernandes what to do? He shouldn't be allowed to coach anybody above the standard of Junior Hoylett. I mean, Ten Hag's other assistant is Mitchell van Gaag, a fella who failed as a manager in Portugal and Cyprus, and was a centre-back for Motherwell, Utrecht, Maritimo, and weirdly Al Nasser. Yeah, I doubt he was giving Ronaldo travel tips after that Piers interview. Lads, it's a weird coaching setup. When Benny McCarthy scored 2 goals for Porto to knock Man United out of the Champions League in 2004, I was excited, thinking this guy was Irish, that he'd replace Clinton Morrison in the Ireland team. No, sadly not, but 19 years later, and he's weirdly a Manchester United coach, having worked for Stan Truden, Cape Town City, and Amazulu. It's a strange CV. The guy was so irrelevant after retiring that back in 2017, he actually had to come out and remind everyone that he was still alive. He'd been Macaulay Culkin. I mean, there's rumors every other week. What with De Gea and now Onana blundering? Is it time to have a look at the goalkeeping coach too? Craig Mawson? Not to be confused with Craig Dawson or Craig Pawson. But as well, when those three are together in the same stadium, it must be like an episode of The Twilight Zone. But yeah, this is a 44-year-old man who's been working at Manchester United since deferring from Burnley in 2019. And what are his qualifications? Why, he's the former #1 for Morecambe, Hereford, Halifax and Droylsden. Ever since joining the club, there's been so many shocking goalkeeping blunders. It makes me wonder, what is this man doing on the training pitch? Is he just constantly stamping on the goalie's feet? Does he make these fellas stay up all night watching Disney films the night before a match? And like it or not, but Ten Hag is a man where baggage follows him. Right now, it is a bad look that he persuaded his current employers to part with 100 million euros to sign a fella who's now under investigation by the cops. Well, guess what? Ten Hag was also given his start in management at Go Ahead Eagles in 2012, right? Where he was appointed by Mark Overmars, who he later spent 5 years working with at Ajax. Yeah, I mean, whatever you do, don't rifle through the photo gallery on Overmars' phone. You'll probably vomit up a Twix. I won't go into it, but he was recently appointed Director of Football at Royal Antwerp. Yeah. 4 sponsors pulled out. Ten Hag has also worked with Dutch winger Quincy Promes at Twente. He was his first signing for Go Ahead Eagles on loan. He also brought him to Ajax as well. Yeah, the bloke's had more court cases than I've had showers this year. Not including the milk ones. I still stink of muddy Rice Krispies. Promes is since morphed into the Dutch Tony Soprano. I'm not saying this is Ten Hag's fault, but baggage does follow him everywhere he goes. Don't forget that Manchester United star boy who was arrested and suspended just 6 months after Ten Hag took the Man United job, and he's now just banished to be Getafe's number 9. I'm not saying any of this is Erik's fault, but it's weird, right? What next? Are we suddenly going to see photos of him in 2014 partying with Russell Brand? Is Steve McLaren suddenly going to be exposed for keeping missing dogs trapped in his fridge? Ten Hag has been surrounded by more cancellations than Philip Schofield's agent. Everything he seems to touch turns to mud. And my question is, why? Imagine the people invited to Ten Hag's wedding. It would look like the inside of a Colombian prison. Even his own nan was probably locked up for poisoning ice cream. All this fella has done is manage in Holland and had 2 years coaching the Bayern Munich B team, where he's probably begging Stephen Ribéry if he can get a selfie with his bro. I just don't see how Ten Hag comes back from this. We have seen so many times in the past, ever since Fergie left, has a Manchester United manager ever really successfully climbed out of a hole of rotten results? Solskjaer did it briefly, recovering from a nightmare start in the autumn of 2020, but he was still sacked within a year without a trophy to his name. Another rock bottom sequence of results from Man United occurred in the winter of 2015. 0 wins cost 6 Premier League games under Louis van Gaal, getting beaten by Bournemouth, Norwich and Stoke in a row. Van Gaal kept his job, but probably because it was too much of a hassle to sack him mid-season, and he was gone in the summer anyway. David Moyes was never even given a chance to really dig himself out of a hole of rotten results. The last time a Man United manager truly recovered from a horrendous run of results was Sir Alex Ferguson. From January 2004 to May 2004. Once Rio Ferdinand was banned, they were beaten by Wolves, Middlesbrough, Man City, Portsmouth, Porto, Liverpool, Blackburn, and failed to beat Newcastle, Leeds, Fulham, Arsenal, Chelsea. Awful run, but they recovered from that. Is Ten Hag really going to turn this around? Really? 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 No. They're now bottom of the group after 2 games and 0 points. How is Erik Ten Hag getting away with this? Why is nobody screaming for change? You think Jose Mourinho would be able to get away with 6 defeats and 10 during the 18-19 season? Yes, 6 defeats, but 6 defeats spread out across 6 months, not 6 weeks. Not to mention he was coming off the back of a season where he'd reached the FA Cup final and only dropped out of the top 2 in the Premier League for 1 week all season. In December 2017, when they drew with Southampton and briefly slipped to 3rd. But Ten Hag, just don't remember, this is a guy who actually managed Manchester United to 20th in the league. He had to spend the second weekend of last season embarrassingly sitting rock bottom, below everyone else, after a 4-0 loss to Brentford. Mourinho lost 4-0 as Manchester United manager once to a Chelsea team who went on to win the league with 93 points, not to a team nicknamed the Bees. Sounds about as threatening as a marmalade pie. And there was a reaction to the loss at Stamford Bridge. Yeah, they went on a run of 25 league games and 7 months without a Premier League defeat. And people wonder why I think he's a genius who was harshly treated by this club. Manchester United have not been top of the Premier League since Cristiano Ronaldo's debut. Well, the second one. Mourinho, by contrast, he had Man United sitting top of the league for 6 different game weeks. 4 of them were in a season where Man City got 100 points. Although that lockdown season under Ollie confused me. How did Man United go from losing 6-1 at home to Spurs, being 15th after game week 6, to top of the league in mid-January? I mean, it's best not to look too deeply into that year. Southampton were also top of the league in November and finished 15th. Everton were top on Halloween. Leicester were top in January. Weird season. I mean, Man City won the league with ease, yeah, but they were also 9th a week before Christmas. What? But lads, Ten Hag out. It's an early shout, but I don't see him recovering. But who are the available candidates? Julian Nagelsmann has since taken the Germany job. Zinedine Zidane is favoured, I suppose. But does he even speak English? He's an absolutely legendary icon, yeah. But he lived in France for the first 24 years of his life, spent 5 years in Italy, and has since spent the last 22 years living in Spain. Not one foray into England, not even on holiday. I think he'd rather eat his own dog than survive a grim weekend in a caravan park in Hull. Plus, Zidane's name right now seems to be mixed up in rumours about taking the Marseille job once Newcastle's owners get involved. Apparently, he's agreed to take the job, even though Gennaro Gattuso was appointed Marseille boss literally last week. To be fair, he only spends about 2 months at every job anyway, so sort of makes sense. I mean, his spell as Fiorentina manager was so short, it's not even on Wikipedia. There's not really any standout candidates. I don't think Antonio Conte would work. It's all a bit bleak. Anyway, that's it. Let me know in the comments what do you think. Let me know in the comments what do you think should happen at Man United. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like. Check as always. I'll talk to you in a while.